KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the inland Northwest this past week.
All of that smoke in the Northeast that we've been seeing recently is coming from the wildfires burning up in Canada. Meanwhile, while our skies have been clear of that smoke at the moment, it likely won't be long before that smoke becomes all too much of a reality for the Northwest. As wildfire smoke continues to choke parts of the East Coast, Senator Jim Risch of Idaho had this to say.
It's really appropriate to be holding this hearing. For those of you who live on the East Coast, welcome to our air in the West. This is common.
On Thursday, senators on the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources questioned fire officials, including about federal wildfire response and land management reforms. Washington's Senator Maria Cantwell showed the Outlook maps released from the National Interagency Fire Center showing which states have the potential for significant wildland fires. Currently, it shows most of Washington, including the west side, to be one of the areas most at risk of fires from July to September.
My whole state is in the forecast for this summer being in the epicenter of this.
Right now, the U.S. Drought Monitor shows most of western Washington's abnormally dry, while the majority of eastern Washington is in the clear. Meanwhile, most of northern Idaho's seeing moderate drought conditions. However, the Fire Center expects to see drier conditions as summer moves in. Senator Cantwell also spoke about using prescribed burns to remove fire fuels.
There's probably hardly any time now to do subscribed burns in the middle of summer. It just doesn't happen.
Senator Risch also spoke about managing fire fuels at the hearing.
For years, we have focused on putting out fires, and we were very, very successful at it. And by being successful at it, we've caused the problem that we've got.
And with wildfire season just getting started, it's a problem that's expected to continue. In Spokane, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
Throughout the day, we've seen rain start to pool on some roadways, but the rain was just one element of this storm. Take a look at some of the dramatic photos and videos sent in by KREM 2 viewers. Late this afternoon, weather across the inland Northwest turned stormy.
Nice line. Oh, there's a little lightning. Cool.
A downpour in Kellogg and an impressive lightning strike in Rathdrum, sent to us by Jennifer Gold. We could see and hear it too at the KREM 2 studios on the South Hill. Some of the electricity in the air grounding on the KREM 2 tower. Today's storm also brought plenty of wind. Boats at McDonald's Resort in Bayview tossed around like toys.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
The wind also brought down a tree, hitting this car's windshield off Kidd Island Road in Coeur d'Alene. And over near Harrison, Cheryl Sorensen says the storm brought down power lines, which sparked a fire. The rain stuck around the longest, and more is on the way tomorrow.
Look at that, baby. That's gold going in that tank. Woohoo!
In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Earlier today, I had the chance to talk with Eddie's neighbor, who tells me that Eddie was one of the most kind and humble people he ever met. But for Spokane climbers, Eddie was a legend.
Certainly anytime we lose a local legend like that, it's just, there's such a wealth of knowledge that comes from older, more experienced climbers that's just lost anytime someone passes away, whether from natural causes or in the mountains. So that's super devastating.
Nathaniel Kerber is an avid hiker and mountain climber. He actually climbed Mount Rainier on Friday, the day park rangers started searching for Dawes Eddie.
We saw this helicopter hovering for probably a couple hours, just spinning around at, I don't know, 9 a.m. in the morning, and we were like, dude, what is that about? So that would definitely make sense.
5 days later, park rangers found a man in a crevasse matching the description of Eddie. He was once the oldest man to summit Mount Everest. He was climbing Mount Rainier for the 50th time to celebrate his 80th birthday. Nathaniel says he's sad but not surprised of what happened.
Experience does not make you safe, even if, especially as a soloist, that's just objectively way more dangerous.
Nathaniel planned on taking the same route Eddie did, but after looking at safety reports, he decided to take another route.
Yeah, buddy.
It's part of what happens with mountaineering. There's certain gambles you have to make, but the experience, the thrill, the success, the accomplishment.
John Macias is another local climber. He didn't know Eddie personally, but knows the impact Eddie leaves.
It's a huge loss. Someone having so much experience, being such a legend in the community, it's an enormous loss.
According to Mount Rainier National Park, park rangers changed the primary route from the Ingram Direct, which is the route Eddie took, to Disappointment Cleaver on Saturday because of significant crevassing.
And to be clear, officials are only saying that a climber that matched Eddie's description was found dead in a crevasse on the Ingram Glacier at 11,500 feet. The Pierce County Medical Examiner will release the climber's identity. In the newsroom, Nathan Hun, KREM 2 News.
So we're actually kind of tiptoeing into a 2-day festival. There's also going to be like a welcome drag show on Friday too in conjunction with that. Not the same thing, part of the park, but different parts of the park. Then Saturday is where the big stuff starts, and the parade is at noon and just basically empties out into the park. There's going to be 5 stages and drag queens everywhere. Every year we do it, the crowd just totally outgrows what we planned for as far as event infrastructure. I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to be the best year ever by a lot. I want like 60,000 people. The bigger we can make this thing, the bigger deal this is, the more love we can spread with this lovely event, the more things like this we can do to show that the haters are just out there on the fringe, the healthier we can be as a society and the more we're going to heal this crazy division that we have.
Why would you say this year's Pride events are so important?
Pride kind of contains the positive message of our culture that we just need to accept people for who they are and just focus on loving yourself and loving each other and not get too political, not get too into the weeds. Pride is that one day where we all come out and hold hands and sing with each other and celebrate and just spread the love. And I'm going to try to use the rest of my life to try to create more of that.
Governor Brad Little just returned from the Texas-Mexico border, where he's also sent 12 Idaho state troopers to help.
As being a force multiplier for Texas Department of Public Safety.
Governor Little says he and other GOP governors continue to call on the Biden administration to address crime and drug smuggling at the border.
And any chaos on the border gives them a better opportunity to do the bad things they do.
Little says that trip south was twofold, both to help Texas with the surge at the border, but also to learn ways to combat the smuggling of drugs, specifically fentanyl, coming across Idaho's borders.
What do we do to identify basically the latest technology the bad guys are using to smuggle drugs into Idaho, or more often through Idaho?
Trooper Enrique Llerenas just returned from Texas, where he assisted in patrols.
A lot of human trafficking, a lot of human smuggling, a lot of pursuits.
And a lot of drugs. He and other Idaho troopers picked up new skills they'll bring to fighting drug trafficking at home.
Liquid meth compartments in vehicles, hidden in gas tanks, trunks of cars, just everywhere. It's just very surprising where you would find something.
A second team of 6 troopers is still in Texas and will return later this week.
You hear it in the news, you see it, and being able to see it in person is a whole different aspect.
Shannon Mowdy.
Very disappointing and sad.
KREM 2 News.
When Washington's ban on certain semi-automatic firearms went into effect, 3 lawsuits came forward. The Second Amendment Foundation's federal lawsuit to block the new law is the first to get rejected.
The Second Amendment Foundation filed its lawsuit against the state of Washington in the U.S. Western District Court. They asked the judge to block the statewide assault weapons ban while waiting to go to trial. The lawsuit claims the ban violates the constitutional right to bear arms. But today, the judge rejected that request to temporarily block the new law. The order says, in light of recent mass shootings, it is appropriate for the government to find ways to protect the public within the limits of the Second Amendment.
So I'm signing this bill.
The ban was signed into law in April, and at that time, Attorney General Bob Ferguson said he is prepared to fight any legal challenges.
We have defended a number of bills related to common sense gun reform, and our record so far is pretty good against the NRA and against the Second Amendment Foundation. We are undefeated, and we plan to keep that record intact.
There are still 2 other lawsuits pending against Washington's assault weapons ban. The NRA filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of the National Shooting Sports Foundation and individual plaintiffs. The individual plaintiffs include Spokane's Sharp Shooting, an indoor range and gun shop. The nonprofit Silent Majority Foundation filed a separate lawsuit in Grant County. But last month, a judge transferred the case to Thurston County. That transfer is still pending.
Now, the National Shooting Sports Foundation filed its federal lawsuit against Washington with Sharp Shooting. The foundation told me this afternoon their organization is confident in its challenge against the state. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Yeah, we've been keeping tabs on this story since March when activists called for Spokane Police Chief Craig Michel to resign. They say emails between Michel and downtown business owners showed favoritism and special access to city records. This Monday, City Council is expected to make an emergency change to city code, which currently says complaints against the police chief shall be directed to the mayor. Council President Brian Begg says the police ombudsman has the authority to investigate officers under city charter, but he says city code doesn't match.
They left out the ombudsperson investigating the police chief. And so we are going to fix that. We're simply going to remove the language that kept the ombudsman from doing it.
He points to a 2013 voter-approved charter amendment. Here's what it says. The Office of the Police Ombudsman has the authority to and shall independently investigate any matter necessary to fulfill its duties, which includes complaints against police officers.
I have said a number of times that I'm not going to initiate an investigation of our police chief.
Mayor Nadine Woodward says there's no merit in investigating claims of favoritism by Chief Michel.
Well, I have the authority to investigate the police chief. The ombudsman does not. And if the council wants that, then they're going to have to change the city charter.
So the charter change that she's talking about already took place in 2013. I just don't think she's read up on the charter.
Begg says changing city code won't impact the mayor's authority to launch investigation. The proposed ordinance just cleans up discrepancies between city code and city charter. Still, Woodward questions Beggs' call for an investigation.
This is a personal issue that he has with our chief, who has been active in the last 2 legislative sessions to advocate to get tools back for our police officers.
Beggs denies this, and in turn says Mayor Woodward is keeping this issue going.
I think she's making it into a political campaign issue, and that's really unfortunate because any other executive, I think, who has a complaint against them, she promptly gets an investigation that exonerates them, and then they go on.
Now, we want to be very clear. Monday's vote will not launch an investigation into Michel. Beggs says that's up to the ombudsman on whether or not it happens. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
The district says the ceremony adjustments were made during the COVID pandemic. But now COVID restrictions have lifted, and some parents think that they should be back in the room to watch their students cross the stage.
The West Valley School District says the assembly will have choir performances, student speeches, and individual recognitions for every 8th grader. But no parents.
We want to be there.
Rebecca Lee says she's excited to celebrate her student, but she also wants to be in the room to do it.
We want to be able to take our own pictures. We want to be able to cheer them on. They have worked so hard. This particular group started when they were online in COVID and they didn't get the beginning middle school experience, which they overcame, which is great. But then to end it like this is just kind of ridiculous. It's really frustrating.
The district is recording the assembly and inviting parents to attend a barbecue picnic on the football field after the event. Kimberly Hutchinson says that's not enough.
The question's funny. Ask a parent, like, oh, is it okay if you just videotape my daughter's first birthday? Like, that'll be okay, right? I could watch it on a video. It's not the same. And these kids want their parents.
Principal Karen Woolworth says the assembly is more inclusive for students who may not have someone who can show up for them, and it was also well received in previous years. Woolworth says hosting the assembly was a joint decision between parents, students, and staff. But Lee and Hutchinson say their voices and other parent voices aren't being heard.
We want to be here to support our kids. We want to show up. And we have spoken to the principal and the superintendent, and we just have told that there will be no exceptions. They won't be changing anything, and we aren't allowed.
Lee and Hutchins say it's likely not much will change between now and the ceremony and barbecue next Thursday. But they do hope that voicing their concerns will inspire some change, and that future 8th grade classes and their parents can look forward to being back in the room together to celebrate moments like these. In Spokane Valley, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
You'll remember we told you late last month when the mayor vetoed this ordinance, leaving one last chance for council to push it through with a supermajority vote. And that didn't happen.
My initial response was of surprise.
When Mayor Chris Kaminskis issued what some say is the first veto in Liberty Lake history last month, some were shocked, others outraged.
Seems to me that the only recourse we now have is to dismiss some of the library board members. I certainly thought the scalpel approach was better than that type of sledgehammer, but I guess here we are.
The ordinance officially died Tuesday night after failing to get a supermajority vote. Councilmember Jed Spencer says the intent and the crux for many was giving council power to approve or reject library policies.
It was really just to align with how we deal with other departments of the city.
The mayor's veto cited confusing wording, but also concern council hadn't listened to the public in the 7 months it took to finalize the legislation.
Unfortunately, I feel like with the veto, we've kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater because there were a lot of changes that the board requested, that the public requested.
There are options moving forward.
I would hope to see a smaller group sit down and have level-headed discussions.
In a brief phone call Wednesday, Mayor Kaminskis told me council could also go back to the drawing board to draft a new ordinance. The one she vetoed can't be brought up for consideration again. Though for some, it feels like the end of this chapter.
I think we're kind of at a deadlock at the moment.
Council member Chris Cargill says until council has library board oversight, he won't vote to approve any budget requests from the library and won't vote to appoint anyone put forward by the mayor. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
The start of June brought new water restrictions to the city of Spokane and plenty of questions too, so let's verify what is true about watering and what is false. First, we can verify, yes, there are water restrictions in place in Spokane right now. The City Council passed the new water conservation measures last year. The rules restrict water usage between June 1st and October 1st of each year. You may have seen this image shared by the City of Spokane. It lists restrictions on hours for watering and suggests an outdoor watering schedule broken down by even and odd addresses. However, parts of this graphic may be misleading, so let's break it down. We can verify that it is true that watering is not allowed during the day between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. There is also a limit on how many days you can water to 4 days a week. However, while the city suggests an even odd watering schedule, the city code leaves it open for homeowners to choose the days that work best for them. There is also no limit on how long you can water, although the code suggests a limit of 2 hours per day. KREM 2 News viewer Deb emailed the Verified team to ask, will golf courses, parks, and schools be following these same guidelines too? If not, why? Well, Deb, we can tell you there are exemptions that can be made for the Parks Department. Reasons include watering trees or new landscape, mitigating fire risks, pools and splash pads, and golf courses and sports facilities. Similar exemptions are also available for homeowners. We can also verify there are currently no penalties for people who don't follow the rules. If you have something you'd like verified, email those questions to us at verify@krem.com.
Since 2015, the city of Spokane has required short-term rentals to be permitted. But there are hundreds of short-term rentals operating illegally, and the city wants to crack down. In February, the city hired Granicus, a data collecting company that tracks short-term rentals with permits and those operating without permits. City planner Amanda Beck says the city spent the last 3 years searching for a company like this.
It's just a needed update to keep up with changes, but the main crux of what we're doing is creating a path to compliance for short-term rentals that are operating in the city.
Granicus data shows nearly 650 short-term rentals in Spokane are operating illegally, and you'll be surprised by how many are actually permitted.
We have 44 active permits, so those are people who are in residential zones and went through the permitting or renewal process.
Current city code only allows short-term rentals in residential zones, but there's been a loophole allowing them to be permitted elsewhere. The city council is now considering an amendment to allow short-term rentals in non-residential zones as well. This is the current fee structure to apply and renew the rental permit. And this is what permit fees would be if city council adopts changes.
We're partially addressing this now because we're in a housing crisis and we're looking at all of the different things that impact the housing supply in the community.
The money made from permits will go to cover fire and building inspections. The city says that they hope to pass the new code enforcement for short-term rentals by the end of this month. In Spokane, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
We've just wanted to buy for so long, and we're just blessed for this opportunity. So the kids get to have a home and pick out their bedrooms and do all that fun stuff.
Today we are actually raising the walls on our 15th home here in the greater Spokane area for the Brown family.
Jonathan Brown
and Chantel Brown.
Hayden Homes has teamed up with nonprofit First Story to build an affordable home for a Spokane area resident.
I was on the news and saw the First Story that they were doing a application process through First Story and first-time home buyer program. Turns out we qualified.
Income qualified for it.
Yeah. Chantel's in school full-time, and so I'm the sole income into the house.
I'm Claire Duncan, and I'm the executive director at First Story. First Story was founded 25 years ago by Pacific Northwest home builder Hayden Homes, as they just wanted to find a way for families that had really done everything right but weren't able to own a home on their own. So we provide a path to affordable home ownership for families who are at or below 80% of area median income.
Everybody wrote a super nice message on the beams of our new home, and just to bless it even more. We need to walk around and read all of them. It's an investment. I feel like it's everybody's American dream to have and own a home. So this is just investing in our future for our kids, but also fulfilling a dream that we've had for a really long time.
Today's all about coming together to meet the family, to celebrate their new home, and then to raise the very first walls. So it's a pretty special experience for all of us, but then of course for the family. And when we hand over the keys in October, it's truly one of my favorite days of the entire year.
It's been an emotional, just great day. We're very blessed. We just feel very blessed today.
Oh, well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of great things happening this weekend at the Lilac City Comic-Con. And also, we got a chance to just hang out at a local staple here as well, Jedi Alliance, and hanging out with the owner, Tyler Arnold. And we're thankful you took some time out of your day to speak with us. And we talked about how many people are going to be coming in just for this event. You also have a really cool special guest coming in for Comic-Con this weekend. Who are we talking about?
Oh, yeah, we're excited to bring in Boogaloo Shrimp from breaking fame, you know, back in the day, famous break dancer.
Yeah, man. Well, so tell us the story about how this all came together, you know, because he's got these influential impacts. You even told me he taught Michael Jackson the moonwalk, right?
Yeah, the moonwalk and the backward slide that he's, you know, changed the face of music in 1984 with that performance of Billie Jean. So yeah, about a year and a half ago, I reached out to Shrimp on social medias, just wanting to know if he happened to have any old wardrobe or breakdance props, and basically we became friends, talking back and forth, and he seemed really excited that how excited I was, you know, and we're able to get him to come up for the con this weekend. I thought that would be the best place to put him in front of a large audience, you know, hopefully 10,000 or so in attendance this weekend, and yeah, just I mean, what's better than popping and locking and, you know.
And yeah, making it happen. That is so cool. I got to go back and watch these movies because I'm just, you know, intrigued by the whole idea that he's going to be in town this weekend, and there's going to be other really cool guests in town as well. You know, the voice of Ash Ketchum here in America. If you're any Pokemon fans out there, they'll be in town. And you know, so Tyler, we're thankful we just had this opportunity to speak with you this morning, and just having an opportunity to be in your museum, your arcade. It's been an absolute blast. So thank you first and foremost, and Lilac City Comic Con this weekend. Hope you have a great time out there. Hope everyone who's in attendance has a great time. And if you're on the fence, go ahead and get a ticket. So right now we'll toss it back to you all in the studio.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.